Good morning and welcome to your breakfast show, Rise with CUMT, here on CUMT Television Channel 44. I am Juliana Ibikaba.
And I am Tamba Stephen Komba. In the program this morning, we shall be discussing the university status that has been granted to the then Canadian College of Modern Technology.
The Canadian College of Modern Technology has now officially become Canadian University of Modern Technology as per the accreditation letter received from the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education.
To help us discuss this, we have with us in the studio the Director of Marketing of the Canadian University of Modern Technology, Sheku Putka and the Chairman, Chiefdom Youth Council in the Yoni Mamela Chiefdom, Jibril Bangura. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you guys, it's a pleasure being here.
All right. And before
we start the conversation, let us have the quote of the day, which says, "Determination spurns hard work, and with hard work comes the desires of life. And today's hard work creates space for tomorrow's success." And it's coming from Marma Precious Halabi, a final year student of the Mass Communication Department here at the Canadian University of Modern Technology.
Yes, let's start with you, the Director of Marketing here at the Canadian University. Just take us through the massive celebration. We saw people gathering, starting at Mamorka to Mamaka onto the Manai-Tuan community. Take us through the event yesterday.
Okay, so what happened on Wednesday was more or less an official welcome ceremony in appreciation of the tremendous and very effective works that have actually been carried out by the leadership of the then Canadian College, now Canadian University. And so we are always of the conviction that when you do good work, it is what's paramount for that work to be recognized, in the sense it tends to give you more zeal and more encouragement in terms of being able to dispense duty accordingly and as and when judicially required. So what we decided to do at the Canadian University was to welcome the CEO and now Chancellor, Mr. Moksen Sise Senior, in a very grand style. Now, why was this necessary? This is a dream that has started for a very long time, but when you look at the trajectory, you will realize that this is a dream that has been actualized in the shortest possible time. And I'll tell you why. Gaining a university status is something that does not happen overnight. Officially, this college was established as an institute back in 2014. It's moved from a small institute to a very small college, and then in less than 10 years, we are now talking of a university. To us, this is a remarkable achievement, and it is very necessary for the CEO and founder to understand the fact that we appreciate his leadership, and that is where the management and staff of the university is also very welcoming, because in the sense, you would realize that what has happened is not a one-man's job. It has been serious efforts of commitment, hard work, and dedication to see that things really happen. You know, it has been thorough from the technical side of accreditations. We were initially accredited, we had some affiliations with Jala University, but now that we have the university status, we have become what you call an independent institution that has now the proclivity of carrying out all of its activities without any hindrance or interference. So to us, this is a milestone, and it is what's necessary for the world to know that we appreciate what God has done, whilst we recognize the fact that our hard works have actually paid dividend, but we also want to recognize the fact that God has been at the center of it all, because in the end, without his approval, I am not too sure we're going to have any positive results. So it's not just about welcoming the CEO. Of course, now we realize that we have attained this university status, and we now have a better responsibility of making sure that we continue to do better things, because I'll tell you, you're going to have situations where people are going to judge us now, being that we're a university, and more goodies are now expected. So the welcoming was just a facelift, and we hope to do more as we get along.
All right, let me hold you there and bring in Mr. Jibril Bangura. As the youth representative of this chiefdom, the host community, what do you make of this latest development?
Thank you very much. It's really, 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 really amazing that people of Yoni chiefdom, I mean Yoni Mamila and Tonkolila as a whole, and for me being the youth chairman for Yoni Mamila, it's really, really a round of applause for me, because during my own tenure as a youth chairperson, we have the university, the fastest growing university in Unimamela Children. So like I'm very much happy, and then I want to give my promise to the university here, and then the proprietor for this university, now the chancellor for this university, Mr. Muxin, that we are going to make use of this university. You know, before this time, our brothers and sisters go as far as Freetown, Jalam, Akole, Bo, and then Makini, for them to acquire education. But for now, the education is in our doorstep. So we have to make good use of it, and then we are going to promise the university that we are going to make good use of this university.
So how exactly do the youth of this community feel about this, having such opportunity in their land?
All right. You can testify that we are really happy about this development. You know, as for yesterday, when the information reaches us as this college has been transformed to university, we gathered ourselves, and then the bike riders, the traders, you know, the youth. We went as far as at how do you call the junction? Mamoka junction. You know, for us to give our appreciation to the chancellor that we are really happy, and then we appreciate the university. So with that, you can tell the right from my notes that we are very much happy for this university, and then we are going to give our support to the university for it to gain its glory, and then for it to be a perfect university in Sierra Leone, and then for the whole world.
Okay, so as a youth chairman, how do you play your role to empower the youth educational-wise?
All right. First and foremost, we have been engaging them, you know, talking to them that education is the key to any success. Okay. If you want to succeed in life, education is paramount. So we do engage them, and then for this university, we have what we call outreach. You know, when we have our sessions, like we have the youth sessions, youth summit, we talk about this university. Then before the university college, we talk about this college that we have the Canadian College of Modern Technology in Yonishidom, 91. You know, and then this college is not far away from us. This college is in Tonkolini district. So let's make good use of this college. Now the college has transformed to university. You understand? And we are going to do more for them to get the understanding that yes, this college, this university, we are going to make use of the university, and then we're supposed to make use of this university because this university is in our doorstep.
Yes. Now to you, Sheku Putka Camera. With the change in nomenclature, are we expecting to see change in the administrative setup or in the day-to-day running affairs of the university?
Okay, we're not going to have a change. Rather, we're going to have additional members of staff. Okay. We now have a university, and so the hierarchy would definitely change. Like, as for our university statuses, every university is expected to have the #1 person who becomes the chancellor, and of course, our founder, the CEO, automatically becomes the chancellor. And we're going to have a deputy vice chancellor who will act as a principal. And normally, by university standards, the University Act provides that every vice chancellor and principal must be a full-time professor in the educational structure of Sierra Leone. And that is where the CEO and management have actually gone to a greater extent of proposing to have the former Deputy Vice Chancellor at the Institute of Public Administration and Management.
And can you disclose the name of that person to us now?
That is Professor Alison Sise. He was the DVC at IBAM, and now he is hopefully going to be our new Vice Chancellor and Principal. From the Vice Chancellor and Principal, we may have setups where we would have fully established and tried to get deputy vice chancellors who are also likely going to be professors as well. But for now, we're targeting deans, so we're going to have a few faculties because when you're a university, you need to have faculties. And so those recruitments have already been done. And so before we do the official opening, otherwise known as the grand opening in January, you're going to have all of those members of staff coming. Plus, of course, more recruitment for more members of staff. Because when you look at the human resource capacity of every university, there has to be a way you get people who live up to expectation. So while you're going to have those people who are ready to do the work, they also have to be academically fit and inclined to be able to dispense quality knowledge justifiably. And so all of that is work in progress. We're just getting started. So when you talk marketing and a host of the things that we would have to do, it's about ensuring that we really do our homework very well, because it's more of outreach, it's more of going out, and it's more of ensuring that all of the things that have to be done are really done. So yes, I'll tell you, whilst we're doing things systematically, the homework is being done at, call it backdoor level, and that come January, things should be very okay for the university.
Yeah, you did mention that come January, we shall be doing the official launch, we shall be expecting to see more faculties. So can you help us to understand some of these faculties that the university is going to start off with?
Yes, surely. So when we were at college, we were running a few programs in computer science, business, information technology. All of those are meant to fall within the composition of computer science. Of course, the mass communications department, we had agriculture, business administration and management. And so those were structures that you would want to say started this university. Accounting, finance, education, law, public health, public policy, education, host of stuff are expected to be a part of the new faculties and the new establishment. This is work in progress. By this I mean, we're not going to have a wholesome review of every program now, but as time progresses, we hope to make some judicious changes, because in the end, you do not just want to work by a curricula that is not in line with the education structure of the country. That is why, whilst we're following the University of Sierra Leone standard, we also want to ensure that we meet international best practices. That is why the CEO, who is of course an alumnus of the University of Manitoba, is always ready to ensure that we work in line with those international standards, because in the end, whilst we're going to be judged on a nationalistic scale, our international reputation also matters. And that is why we really come in, because as a university that is known for creativity and innovation, you want to ensure that what you do places you at a position that is different from what other people do. So whilst we are attaining those distinctive strides, we really have to be very systematic and careful enough to ensure that what we do speaks for itself, because in the end, people are going to judge us based on what we do. And that is why we're really hopeful that we'll continue to do those positive things for the education of the university.
Yes, for you, Mr. Jibril. Prior to the emergence of the then Canadian College, now Canadian University, how has it been like for youth in this community who actually have a desire to actually get formal education?
Thank you very much for that question. Let me just take you back to history. The present Jala University. This university, before the sign, this university wants to establish here in Ione Chiefdom, a village called, I will remember the village after, right, nearby my 91 here, just 3 miles off my 91. But the demand of our ancestors, the demand of our forefathers, they demand a lot. So the management for Jala University thought it fit that they can establish it here. But the Almighty Allah has already noted it that Ione Chiefdom will automatically have what we call a university. So, the son of the soil, we're going to establish this university here. So, getting the Canadian University of Modern Technology is not a strange thing to us, and then we've been expecting it. And back to your question, we are pretty sure that this university is for us, and then we are going to establish what we call modern education here, as the university named Canadian University of Modern Technology. We are going to acquire modern education here, and then this is time for us to make good use of this university, if I may answer your question.
Okay, so
over to you, Sheku. So tell us, what are some of the things you've put in place to ensure that students and the relationship between students and lecturers are cordial and neutral, remain cordial and neutral?
Okay, I am appreciative of the fact that you're suggesting that what we do to ensure that the relationship remains cordial, which presupposes that it has always been cordial. Now, when you look at the standard structure of Canadian university, you would agree with me that we have a very youthful workforce, in the sense we're not going to have a situation where lecturers and students begin to show, call it distinctive differences. I have a feeling that in any atmospheric environment, be it a university or any place, there must be cordial relationships. So for us at Canadian University, we consider our students as members of our community. Most of them reside around the community, most of them are living at the campus. So which goes to tell you that we are more like colleagues. Whilst there are distinctions in terms of what to do and what not to do, we also want to ensure that they feel at home, because remember, most of our students are coming from greater and other places. And so you really want them to be very okay. You really want them to feel convenient. And so we have a responsibility of ensuring that these students see a need to stay with us here. Because now we're going to have a huge marketing urgent marketing guide to ensure that what we put out there begins to create impact. And if that impact is created, it's about ensuring that we get more customers. And those customers, those clients are the students and their parents by extension. So we have a responsibility to maintain every cordial relationship. Once it is going to be very professional, but we also have to ensure that they feel at home, because like we say, this is a place where careers begin. And if it's going to be a place where careers begin, we expect to set a brighter footpath, just so that people have an understanding that when you're here, you really have something to do, and on a professional note too. So yes, we're going to maintain that.
Yeah, that brings about the question that how determined, you being the director of marketing, you automatically you are serving as a face of the university. How determined are you to actually popularize this new development of the then Canadian college becoming a university now?
I have a responsibility to be fully determined in terms of setting an agenda for public consumption. And I also feel that whilst I am the new face of the university, all of us are actually faces, be it students, be it members of staff. I may only be providing what you call a supervisory and or leading role. So this is where all of us really have a role to play. What I am doing is to set a better example or a better pace. We're starting things at Mile 91, but this has to go national, this has to go international. In the next couple of days, I'm going to organize interview sessions for all major media institutions, be it AYB, Star TV, SLBC, Radio Democracy, and a host of other ones, Epic Radio and other like, because you want to reach out to more people, you want people to understand what is happening, and you want people to accept what you're doing. Those things are only going to be achieved when there's credible information sharing. So what we do is, whilst those publicity matters are going to make the news agenda, we have to ensure that they are really credible. Because again, it's about the theory and the practice. You really have to practice what you preach. And if you're going to preach something, there must be a way you really practice it. So to me, I have never been determined. I have a responsibility to make sure that we get more people, and quality people too, because it's not just about having the students, it's about having a qualified student. So when you go back to the university requirements in Sierra, for example, a diploma program will require you to have a minimum of 4 credits. It could be C6 in English. And then for degree programs, you will have a minimum of 5 credits plus C5 or better in English. That is the standard requirement. So whilst we're going to reach out to the market, we want to ensure that people fall within those categories. We do offer certificate programs and short courses, and so for those ones, it could be just like a minimum of 3 credits or what have you, because we're just getting started. The moment we get to a standardized level, there may come a time when we would even push not to have perhaps diploma programs, just undergrads. It could be degree, and then the postgrads, it could be masters, it could be MPhils, it could be PhD programs. But yes, all of us have a urge to do more, because it is our responsibility to do more, to set up the university in a positive light.
Yeah, let's for you, Mr. Jibril. Let's say you are now talking to the Chancellor of the Canadian University, and you are the youth representative. What area of recommendation will you give to him to incorporate courses that could be vital for youth in this community, especially for those who could not afford to have the 5 credits to come and do a university, a degree program straight up?
All right, so yeah, my appeal is going to be like this. Please, Mr. Chancellor, my first appeal is we need short-term courses,
Like?
right? Like we say certificate courses, 1 year, 1 year, 6 months, 2 years. And we need what we call distance learning, because some of them, they're out of school for quite a long time, and they've been engaged in different activities, maybe Okada riding, maybe a business person. So like maybe late in the evening or the weekends, that individual will come and then do his own, taking his own lectures, and then at the end, that individual automatically got his own certificate, right? So like if I may talk to the chancellor now, I will appeal to the chancellor that we need short-term courses, and then we need this distance education here.
Okay. So don't you also think youth in this community need technical training, skills training?
Yeah, like for the technical training, yes. For my 91, we lack the technical trainings in Mainland, or technical, these vocational institutions in Mainland. Like for Baboka, we have what we call the vocational is there, and then we have the training center, the Maboka training center is there. But like for Mainland, we only have Slider and CCDP. CCDP and Slider is not enough for the people of Mainland. Maybe the courses that they are doing there, maybe I don't want to be a panel beating, or I don't want to be a caterer, maybe a garata, either in a tailor, but I want to do something extra, maybe electrical. I want to do something within electrical and other things. So like, I'm still appealing, as you said, if we have this vocational institute or vocational training here, that would be better for us. Yeah.
Okay, so in what ways do you think these developments will impact people of this community?
There are many ways.
Okay.
There are many ways this development will impact the people of this community. One, for us to own this university is a round of applause for the people of Yoni and Tonkolila as a whole, right? And for the university to be in our doorstep, it's a big achievement for the people of Yoni, right? I don't want to separate my household. If maybe my younger sister wants to go to university, I send that of my sister to Jala University. I need to pay a fee in there. I need to pay for a lodging. But if my sister doing a courses here, that's one is simple. When we eat gari together. When we eat cassava together.
Yes.
So I will not separate my household. So this one is creating more impact to the people of Yoni Children, more impact to the people of Tonkolili District.
Okay. For the Director of Marketing, you just mentioned that as part of your strategies to engage the public, you shall be using the mainstream media to actually popularize the new university. Don't you also think, do you also have in mind other strategies like, let's say, outreach programs or organizing seminars to get the attention of other people, more so like in the provincial communities where AYV and SLDC, for instance, could not reach?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have a host of outreach programs. One among many would be the aspect of school visitations in Twitter and other parts of the country to see that we set out the ideas. For now, our target market is pupils that are targeting the last exam or even the back pupils. We're not saying primaries and the others are not important, but this is going to be gradual and it has to be going through phases and stages. So that's why for now, we're targeting the WASC community, because you expect that when you will have successfully started the exam, they will have the chance where they get the requirements to come to the university. So those are all strategies that we're going to explore. Now, on the aspect of having short courses, we still launch short courses. Starting January, we're going to do more expansion, because the moment we've had this transformation, it behooves us to do more expansions. And the aspect of online classes is something we're really looking at. But again, there are a few challenges, especially in the aspect of connectivity. You got a few students who may not be in Mainland one, and so it's going to be a bit challenging in terms of connections. Like there are areas in Sierra Leone that will still have network issues or what have you.
Yes,
but
sure.
whilst those challenges do exist, we still believe that content creation is really important. And so if the lecturer is able to create the content, I expect every student to find a way, especially where connectivity becomes a problem. I'm sure there are a few locations where you always get connected. So yeah, online learning is something we're also considering. I mean, for most times, if I am not able to be in class or I'm out of my 91 and my lectures online, you're not going to have that situation with almost every other lecturer, but it's something we could push. Whilst we know that it may not be the formal or standardized level, but we also think that it could play a role. And so whatever makes learning easier is something we really want to explore. Using mainstream media is just one of the very many things, because we're going to target social media as well, all the social media handles. Like it's going to be continuous work, it's going to be gradual work, and so we'll just take things a step at a time, because we know the more we do things, the better we are at being very, very resourceful and being very impactful in what we do.
Alright, so you rightly mentioned that come January 2022, the college will inculcate more courses. So can you name those courses?
Yes, for a start, or as a way of expanding, we're targeting public health programs,
okay.
We're targeting educational programs, we're targeting law, we're targeting human resource management courses, we're targeting more innovative and technical courses, because like I told you, this is not going to be work at a go. It is going to be work by phases, and so the more we go, the better we become. So the expansions will continue to show up. And so the more we see a need to get more programs, for example, the more we try to get those things on board. Because again, it is all dependent on the kinds of people that are willing to come. The students we get may not have an interest in some of the areas, but if at all we see a need to get more other programs based on the applications, then definitely why not go in for those programs? So the expansions will definitely continue.
Okay. So we will be back after this break.
This is the Canadian University of Modern Technology. Here, we move a little differently. We are the change makers, the innovators. We are solving the problems of the 21st century. We create, we lead, we inspire. Beginning your journey at Canadian University is opening your chapter to success. Here, we are a family that works together to make the change today for a better Sierra Leone and world tomorrow. Here is a home for you. Canadian University of Modern Technology, a place where careers begin.
Welcome back. Stay with us in the studio are the Director of Marketing of Canadian University of Modern Technology, Sheku Putka and the Chairman Chiefdom Youth Council and the Yoni Mamela Chiefdom, Jibril Bangura. So over to you, Sheku. Now with regards to grading system, now as the college become a university, will there be any change in the grading system?
For now, there are no changes in our grading systems. If at all there is a need to have changes, the exams office and the registry would have to work on that. But of course, they will communicate accordingly. But for now, there are no changes.
Also, still with regards to the university issue, are we expected to see changes in the class in the conduction of classes? Like, let's say for students having class today and tomorrow, that student may have a day off and then have a class another day. Do we expect seeing a situation of that nature?
Well, it is all dependent on the timetable. Having classes daily is actually dependent on the amount of modules you do. We have 5 days a week, Mondays to Fridays. Chances are you could do 2 or 3 modules per day. Where that is the case, you may have worked on 2 or 3 days, as the case of just a week. So it all depends. But I am not sure there's any students that will offer a maximum of 8 or 9 modules here. So if you're going to have a situation where you do 5 or 6 modules modules. A week would be enough, but it is possible that you could have 2 or more modules a day, which means you may not have to utilize every other day. So the students could use that day as perhaps quality relaxation day, or a day to do more research. So it all depends on how the timetables are being structured.
Okay. Also, considering these days of ours when youth are becoming more, some are becoming more or less violent people, you being the mediator, you are now serving as a conduit between the administration, the student, and that of the public. How best are you? Is your office trying to actually try to organize in such a way that students will actually desist from the act of violence, and as well trying to ensure that the administration puts mechanisms in place that the punishment they levy against students that are actually found wanting in certain areas that are.
Yeah. So we have a disciplinary committee in the university, and that disciplinary committee is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that alleged students who may have been involved in unwanted activities are thoroughly brought to book and to ensure that justice is dispensed accordingly. But like I told you, here at Canadian University, we work as a team. We have various directorates that have responsibilities of ensuring that things work accordingly. So we have a directorate of students affairs.
Okay.
Among other things, the director of student affairs, Sheku Putka, has a responsibility to see that students and the administration have that cordial relationship, but she's also providing that guidance needed in terms of understanding what is expected of students or not. So whilst there's a collaboration between my office as director of marketing and as director of student affairs, you realize that there's always a need to ensure that we coordinate well, just so that we do things accordingly. So all of our offices play a very important role to see that students behave and comport themselves accordingly, because that is what we want. We do not want a situation where the students will begin to go against the norms, customs, and values of this institution. Otherwise, you're going to have some footsteps and gearbox. So we have a responsibility to see that every office plays its own real role to see that we do the things really. So the coordinations have always been very, very fruitful, whether between myself and any other office. If I need any help from any office or any department, I'll strictly run to that. If they need an assistance in terms of what I do or any other office, they will still run to that. So that speaks to the fact that there's effective collaboration, and yes, we will do things to see that our students are on the right trajectory.
Okay, over to you, Jibuyu. Yesterday, youth of this community, we are all singing and dancing, celebrating. So how often do those youth gain university requirement?
As I was saying, the youth of Tonkoli District, Mile 91 to be specific, some of them have the requirements for the university status, right? They have the requirements, but the reason being for them to migrate from Mile 91 to another town, for them to acquire education, is quite something quite different, and it's something quite difficult for them to acquire education in another town, right? Because of thinking of lodging, feeding and other things, and then you have to pay your college fee. So like all of those things, let them to be, some of them cattle riders, and then some of them traders in management. But with this university now, I think they are going to pursue their education here in the Canadian University of Modern Technology. And again, Mr. Putka here is trying to talk about outreach. We, the youth of Yoni Mamela Children, we've started it already. We started doing some outreach, sensitizing people about the university. Before the university, when this university was a college, we talk to them, we tell them the importance of this college. And then some of them thought that yes, it's right for us to acquire education in this college. Before the college, we have what we call the Isaac Mopsin Innovative Technology. We have a lot of men, 91 people doing their courses here. Some of them have certificate courses here, including me,
Okay.
Myself, and then I have something like a certificate here in computer science. Before I went to Makini for my mass communication. So like it's nice for us to continue doing it, and then I'll promise the university that we are going to do more for the people out there to know more about this university, you know, with the help of my team, you know, the CYC, the DYC, I mean the District Youth Council, and then the Children Youth Council. You know, for Sierra Leone, we the youth make up something like 75 to 80% of the population of Sierra Leone. So if we the youth say yes, I mean, we are going to work with the yes we mean. And again, with reaching them out there, we also discuss that the Canadian university is quite different with other universities, right? The difference is really in Yoni Chiefdom, and then the Canadian university there, it's our own university. The proprietor for that university desist himself from having what we call cultism in his university, and then if you want to go to that university, say no to cultism. If you are black, white, don't go to that university because we don't want short thing to happen, and then Yoni, they try to pop in the name of Yoni. Hey, Yoni Chiefdom, we are this, we are that. So like, we don't want it. So if you are part of that cult, don't go to Canadian University. So that's what some of our messages that we tell them. And then the outreach, we are going to continue doing the outreach as I said earlier.
Yes, for Mr. Putka. In any corporate world, we have what we call, for every corporate institution has a corporate social responsibility to its host communities. How best is your office going to work with the administration to ensure that the university actually fulfills its corporate social responsibility to its host community, let's say maybe in the form of giving out scholarships and the likes?
So when we visited the Maoka village on Wednesday, 10th November, the CEO reaffirmed commitment in terms of providing scholarship opportunities for all students who get university requirements, which basically tells you that corporate social responsibility forms a key part of what the institution does. So even before, he made declaration of that statement, we have a host of students who are from Freetown and other parts of Sierra Leone who are on scholarships there. So which goes to tell you that we understand the fact that education could be very expensive, but we also understand the fact that we have some of our brothers and sisters who may have had the requirements but may not be financially capable of running their program. So it is something that we always look at, and it is something we continue to look at. So whilst we go into the markets to get more people involved, we also want to ensure that people that have the qualifications, I stress on qualifications, are fully given the opportunities that they deserve. So you would see that it was not a mistake that most people were out yesterday welcoming the CEO in a very grand style. Because if you're going to have bike riders, motor drivers, and a host of other people, including the conference of principals organizing all the pupils or most of the pupils, it means that the community itself is appreciative of the fact that this news has come in right in time. And that is why we are also very hopeful and thankful that we are to do more. So as a way of a quick update, we're expecting to have, call it a send-off party, because the CEO has been here for a very long time. He needs to go back to Canada and come back in January for the grand opening. So on Saturday coming, we're expecting to have a very grand party as well as celebrating what has really happened. Call that a way of a start-off party, because in the opening proper, you're going to have a host of dignitaries and possibly from the toppest offices of government. And so that is to show that this is something national and it is something very grand. And so we'll continue to see that we do those things rightly and actively.
Yes, for Mr. Jibril Bangura, you've heard the Director of Marketing saying the then CEO, now Chancellor, actually reaffirming his commitment that he's going to give out more scholarship as a way of giving out through his corporate social responsibility to you, the community people. So do you people actually prefer the scholarship, or do you prefer receiving the physical cash to scholarship?
Oh my God, let me tell you something. Scholarship is more better than receiving the cash.
Oh, really?
Of course, yeah. When you give me billions of dollars, right? Maybe in a year or two, maybe if you ask me, I will not even give you an account of anything again. But if you give me education, I will eat and eat and eat till I die. So I prefer the scholarship than the money.
Okay. So for Mr. Putka, and in just few words, why do you really think people or the wider public should prefer sending their children to study here at the Canadian College to other universities, as Frabe College being the citadel of learning in Sarah?
There have been several challenges in terms of education in Sergio, and one of the most predominant challenges is the aspect of little or no internet connectivity. And when you look at the formation of the Canadian University of Modern Technology, even when it was an institute, internet was not an issue. Even when we were at college, internet was not an issue. And now that we're at university, I would assure that internet is not an issue. And again, in any setup, you really need electricity and internet. And I'll tell you why. You go to Freetown, there's electricity and internet if you pay for it. Here in Maryland, at Canadian University, like it is a requirement for every other office, including the students. So there are things you get here that you cannot get in any other university. There's constant electricity, there's constant running water. I mean, those are things you pay for in billions in other places. So it tells you that the institution has a focus. And now that we're a university, that focus has to be more driven. And if it is driven, it's about ensuring that we continue to match better and acceptable societal standards. Because every human needs convenience. Otherwise, we are not going to leave our convenience places and come to stay here. It is because whilst we like what we do, there's also what you call the conducive learning environment. There are things we get as lecturers, as staffs of this place that make us want to stay and want to do more. So it only means that the institution is doing its job. We're not going to suggest that everything is perfect, but if you have a 70% skill, that's an A and that's an excellent score. So the institution is now expected to do more. Like I said, these advancements are going to be gradual. So whilst we're going to be systematic in implementing some of those policies, we have the responsibility of ensuring that we do not go back. Because negativity must not have a way of coming in again, where positivity is making headway. So that is why we are really committed and focused to see that we do those things. So yes, I will tell you, there are things we are capable of doing, and there are things we have that you cannot see in other institutions, and that is what keeps us going.
Alright, so as a director of this university, how prepared are you to battle with challenges or crises the institution might be faced with?
So that is obvious. Challenges form a key part of life, and so the existence of life itself requires that you understand some of the essential problem-solving mechanisms. Mankind cannot live without the problems, and that is why we're sure that we're going to have issues. But our best bet is to ensure that we plan accordingly, because there is a notion that will tell you that proper planning prevents pathetic performance. But even when you plan properly, chances are you may miss a few strategies or tactics, but it's about going back to the drawing board and to see that those challenges are combated and solved accordingly. So yes, we're ready to face the challenges. The leadership is really committed to see that nothing stops us. If it's about going forward, we have to see that we continue to go forward.
Yes, let me just use the word of someone who once said, go slow so you can go fast. Having this in mind, what advice will you have for the new management that will be taking over some administrative positions within the Canadian University?
I'll tell you what, we had never been in a rush. Even before gaining the university status, we have been very systematic, we've been very gradual. Now that we're at university, the new members of staff are going to meet a committed and reliable workforce. Working as a team goes a long way. So sometimes they tell you, you want to go far, work as a team. You want to go alone, sometimes there could be issues. So working as a team is very paramount. We want to ensure that we do those right things. So the new team is going to meet an old team that is very connected, that is very committed, that is very determined and industrious. So when we come together, there's nothing we cannot really do. So yeah, more progress, more work, and more engagement to see that Canadian University continues to make a name for itself, not just in Serbia, but to global at large. Okay,
as we way of closing, what would be your parting message for your viewers, the university management, and to your community members?
All right, so yeah, thank you very much. I just want to say Thanks and appreciation to the proprietor of this university, Mr. Moxie, and to the staff. And I just want to urge my brothers and sisters, both in Sierra Leone and out of Sierra Leone, that Yoni Mamela, Tonkolele State, we have the fastest growing university. We've made that mark, and then we are continuing to do more things for Yoni Mamela, because we are Yoni, we are not funny, right? And then we do things.
We are Yoni, we are not funny.
Yoni, we are not funny.
I like that.
Right? And for anyone in Sierra Leone or out of Sierra Leone wants to try Yoni, we are going to treat you like honey beans.
Oh.
We are going to bite you anywhere. If you want to degrade or you want to turn down Yoni chiefdom, we are going to degrade you and we turn you down. If you disgrace us, Yoni, publicly, we are going to disgrace you nationally. And then if you did it nationally, we are going to do it internationally. So I thank you very much, and then I'm very much happy for being here with you today.
Okay, so quickly make us a promise that every year, at least 30% or 50% of the youths in the Mamela Chiefdom would be a proud student of this college.
Sure.
Promise?
That's my promise. I promise.
Okay.
Right, to you, our Honorable Director of Marketing, what will be your parting message?
I hope that vulnerability is not linked to parliamentary norms. Marketing is very important in everything we do, and the college now has a focus of maintaining this university status, and so there is more room for commercialization to maximize profitability, plus of course going in for quality. So those are things we're going to push for, and we're going to push really hard to get there.
Okay, so this is where we end the program this morning. But before we go, a quick reminder of the quote, which says, "Determination spawns hard work, and with hard work comes the desires of life. And today's hard work creates space for tomorrow's success." And that quote is coming from Mama Patience Halabi,
A final year student of the Mass Communications Department here at the Canadian University of Modern Technology.